since September, we've literally merged 1,300 PRs, many of them from you. Like I saw one release that we did maybe 2 months ago, and there were like 40 contributors or something, and like 11 of them were from the payload team, and then the rest of them were from the community. That is very cool. That is very, very cool. 600 issues closed. And we just hit a new high. Weekly downloads are at 405,000 per week. So last year around this time, it was 100,000. We went from 100,000 to 400,000 in 1 year. That's pretty cool. And we just, over the past time, we've shipped 181 features. So lots of stuff. We are still very, very, very committed to Payload. We are going to continue to build it out. It is more stable than ever. I'm very excited. I like how it's coming along. But with that, let's jump into the UI redesign. And Tylen, do you want to share your screen? I'll stop for you. We're going to talk about some things with Figma as well. You're going to hear about some of that in the very near future. But one thing that you're going to see is that we are putting some time into a full UI redesign of Payload. And with that, Tylen's going to walk through that. As we build these integrations back to Figma, we have a very wide array of ideas that we're actively building behind the scenes with Figma. And part of that is that we have to reconcile the UI so that when you go back and forth between Figma and Payload, it is a consistent experience, and that the Payload UI has the same quality level that you see when you use Figma. A lot of you have yelled about our UI for years, and that's my fault because I designed it in the first place. And it is maybe a little bit too minimalist. I'll take the credit for that. But Tylen's going to fix that. So yeah, let's go into it, Tylen.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Tylen. I'm a product designer on the Payload team, if you don't know who I am. So I'm going to walk through some of the reasoning behind why we're approaching the redesign the way we are, and then show you guys some really cool screenshots of some of the in-progress work. So with 4.0, we want to bring a cleaner, more capable admin UI built on a more consistent design system and better interaction patterns. And so our approach to that is to, one, redesign the components. And we are going to do a full redesign of the entire admin panel, like James said, to create a kind of cohesive experience across all the surfaces, not just in Payload, but also as you go between Payload and Figma. And to do that, we're going to overhaul all of our styling tokens, getting rid of SAS, and implementing strong semantic tokens that make it easier to style the admin panel yourself, as well as make it more consistent across views, modals, drawers, all those things. And then, of course, as we always do, we're going to continue to ship community requested improvements, because with a breaking change, or with a major release, we can hit those breaking changes and correct some of our sins of the past. So what does better mean for Payload in 4.0? So obviously consistent styling. We want to make sure that any areas in the UI that might not look appropriate compared to other screens, they're all nice and consistent. We're going to improve the UX as well. There's a few areas in the admin panel where we could have a more user-friendly, more intuitive experience, and so we want to clean up some of the noise and make some of the states handling a little bit smoother and things like that, improving hierarchy and whatnot. More utility, making it so that the things we ship are easier for you to use and extend. That way, you're not trying to figure out ways to improve the admin panel your own way. Like, we give you more ways to do it right out of the box. And then, of course, strong developer experience. Like I said, we are introducing more semantic tokens to make it easier to style things. Custom components, obviously, we're going to keep those around. Those aren't going anywhere. If anything, we'll be adding more places for you to extend the admin panel. And we want to make sure these things stay maintainable as we add more and more features and integrations.
We're going to make it easy, actually, to use Tailwind. So I know a lot of people asking about Tailwind in the chat. So one thing that I made sure that we're using the Tailwind style reset sheet. So then, yeah, if you're going to use Tailwind, it's going to be a lot easier with no conflicts.
Yep, what Paul said. In addition to that, I basically already said all of these things, but one thing I didn't mention yet is we are building out a component library. It's not available yet. You can ask the developers who are working on this why, because it is an absolute shit show of a design file. But once it's good to go, I'll make it nice and clean, and you guys can all see it and use it and do whatever you want with it.
Hey, Tylen,
And
whose
with
fault?
that,
Just to be clear, whose fault is that?
it is mine, absolutely, because I try my best to keep things clean, but then I also ideate right next to where I document and spec things out, and it turns into a cluster. But I can
Like,
clean it up. I'll have Claude use the Figma MCP to clean it up for me. All right, let's jump into some of these screens. So the design system we're using is going to be based on Figma's design system. The reason we're doing that, obviously, for consistency between the two products, but also because Figma has a really nice user-friendly set of components already designed out, and that comes with color tokens, type styles, spacing, radius, all those things. And compared to the payload code base, their tokens are way more semantic and super, straightforward what they do versus just like a bunch of color ramps that, have way too many tokens, and we have to pick the color for everything. We'll have more semantic tokens like BG, brand, and things like that. So fewer one-off styles, leading to less drift between, updates to components and faster iteration if you're building new ones. And then this will also give us an easy way to do things like theming with a primary color finally being introduced. I know this has been something people have been asking for a long time. And so out of the box, you'll get this nice, beautiful blue, but it'll be super easy to swap out your color ramp and completely change the color theme right out of the box. Sidebar improvements. So Jared will actually show a little bit of this later, but we are reworking the sidebar to include tabs. These are ways, or this is so that you can, create your own React components and switch between them in this tab right here if you want to have, different hierarchies to show. Here we're showing like the default one, kind of a folders view and a tags system there, but you'd be able to introduce whatever React components you want to customize a sidebar however you'd like it. Here's a quick look at the list view. So we are going to be updating the table cells to be a little bit more consistent, a more cleaner approach to the different fields. Not shown here is some of the other fields that have a little bit more, style to them, but you can see like the status ones will have, nice colored pills to make it easier to parse your list view and see what's what. And then also some more features like this floating toolbar to select or to handle bulk upload, or not bulk uploads, but bulk edits and things like that, moving to folder and whatnot. And you can see overall the layout is very much the same. We're not trying to like completely change the way Payload works. We want to make sure that it still works exactly how everybody expects it to, but give it a nice, clean overhaul visually. Edit view. As you can see here, we've got pretty much the same style as we had before, but with a little bit more density control. The fields are a little bit more consistent throughout. Nice focus styles and things like that. Rich text will have a nice overhaul as well to, kind of clean up that toolbar and make it nice and easy to see. Oh, nice. The stream is full. I love to see that. Yeah, let's keep moving. Here's a quick view of some work we're doing to improve the upload enabled collections. Kind of trying to take like a dam forward approach to make it so that when you go view your uploads in the admin panel, you aren't just seeing like a tiny 1-inch thumbnail, but you actually get like a full view of the image. Easy ways to see different sizes if you have like the sizes feature turned on. And then we're also exploring things like PDF preview, video player controls, things like that.
Hey, Tylen, what about accessibility?
Accessibility, yeah. So as you can see here, this is like the default view, but we're also going to be adding the ability to toggle on an enhanced contrast mode, which will automatically like up the contrast across the entire admin panel. You don't have to worry about any extra like, styling yourself. It'll literally be a toggle right there. And you can set that on the config level if you want as well, if you want to enforce it across your entire organization.
Yeah, if people don't know, we actually have an accessibility test suite that's been running in the background and failing against 3.0. But we're gonna get that green and then, yeah, make sure it's passing for everyone. If you have requirements or like ideas around accessibility, then do ping us. It's definitely a high focus right now.
All right. Fields, like I said, we're doing a full redesign of everything, keeping all the functionality of components everywhere the same. You're not going to need, like, if you've built custom fields, they should translate pretty easily. And so now I'm just going to walk through a couple highlights, I think, from the redesign work. Obviously, Happy Paul and Bad Bunny are a high point for me. Here's a refresh date picker. So a focus style on a text area field, kind of the layout for an array field. And then there's like the code block inside of lexical. Here's a few examples of some of the consistency work I've been doing to refresh lexical a little bit. So nice clean menus. There's some like selection styling, things like that. Mostly trying to make sure that like everything's super clean, super fresh looking. Like we want this to be the best looking editing surface on the internet. User menu. This is one I'm super excited about. I've actually I think I designed this for the first time like 2 years ago, maybe longer. But one of the things I absolutely hate doing is having to leave the page that I'm working on to go change the theme or language. Which if you're designing custom components or redesigning the admin panel, obviously you need to switch between light and dark mode all the time. So this will make it super easy. You'll also be able to like quickly see the logged in viewer if you forget what your email address is, I guess. And we can probably add some custom component slots here. I think this would be a great spot to add some more extensibility, especially if we can get rid of the header actions custom slot, maybe throw them in here. But that's just like a personal thing I'd like to solve someday.
Yeah, that's actually, can you go back to that? I have some lore.
Yeah.
I have canceled everyone's initiatives to do this top right user menu for years, and it's finally happening. My negligence is no more. Tylen will get his way.
Yes, I will. All right. And then this is probably the best sin we've corrected is we're updating drawers and modals. So no more blur, no more full width drawers. You'll be able to see the content that you were working on below rather than just a big blurry screen. And we're also implementing like a fixed width style for the drawers. That way they're not, as you open more drawers, they're not shrinking in size, but they always stay the exact same size. And the stacking is what shifts them down below. So here's an example of the stay logged in modal. As you can see, if you were working on something, you can see if it was actually worth staying logged in or if you're ready to leave. Here's an example of a more involved modal. This is like the cropping and focal point image actions, where you might have a little bit more functionality baked in, but it's not just going to be only tiny modals. We'll try to make it so that whenever you're doing more advanced things that need a focused view, we'll build out a nice modal view specifically for that interaction. And then drawers. This is on I believe, 1440 pixel wide screen. Maybe it's 1600, one of the two. But as you can see here, we're not going to have the modal or the drawers take up the full space anymore. It'll be this fixed width where you have the context of whatever document you were working on below still visible, and keeping things mostly the same as far as like how the contents of the drawer look, but unifying the sizing of it as well as the header where you can expect to see like the title of the drawer to tell you where you're at, as well as the actions in the top right for whatever the context of that specific drawer is. And then for the stacking pattern, oops, it'll look something like this, where the drawer remains the same width, and as you stack more, it simply slides to the left to show the stack, but you'll still be able to see as much context as possible. Obviously, if you have 200 drawers open, you might lose a little bit of that, but for the most part, the idea is to make it as easy as possible to see what you're working on. Drawers stay the same, buttons will always be in the same spot, and it'll be a nice, consistent experience all throughout. So that is everything I've got to show. Obviously, there's a ton more stuff coming. Some of the things I'm excited to keep working on is the upload features, things like image actions and whatnot. And then we're going to be doing like a full rework of the hierarchy folder view stuff. And that'll be coming pretty soon.
I think it's worth noting that you can play around with some of these new UI just going onto our main branch in the monorepo. And if you have any feedback early feedback, just ping us directly. Yeah, we listen to everything. Oh yeah,
we have a GitHub discussion for the UI redesign stuff. I'll link that in the chat, and it would be great to hear some feedback from you all, especially as this stuff gets put into the main branch and you can check it out. Obviously, it's all very much in flux. We're moving fast and doing development in tandem with design, so things are moving quickly. Obviously, don't try to build your project on the main branch right now. It's not even it's pre-alpha right now, so just a little caveat there. Don't get mad at us if stuff doesn't work.
The chat is so funny to me right now. I died with Garrett in Miami. Yeah, I watched that actually. That was pretty wild. Paul and Tylen did karaoke in Miami like a month ago at React Miami, and they sang Shakira.
Wait.
What?
I was gonna say they can guess the song.
Oh, rip.
Well, it's a Shakira song. Can you guess which one?
Oh, well. Are there more than one? I don't know. All right. That I didn't make it because I'm old, so I went to bed before they did this, and it was like 9 p.m. I think. I can't hang anymore, but all right. That was good. Someone should have recorded that. Garrett, did you record that? Please tell me you did. Oh, thank you. All right. The link drawer. Yes, Alex, it is improved. Definitely. Also the relationship field, and I think there was also a question about the rich text table going out of experimental mode. Alessio, can you comment on that? The rich text table in the chat, maybe? I don't know. He's around here somewhere. We might have to boot some people out of the... Can we have more speakers join, or are we maxed out there as well? I don't know. We'll see. All right, so we just talked about UI redesign. There's a lot of stuff coming. The branch is in full construction mode right now, and you can check it out and leave us feedback, but just know that it's going to change a lot over the next month or two. And with that, let's go into hierarchies. And I'm going to set some context, and then I'll let Jared take over. But so everybody knows we have the nested docs plugin right now. And what that allows you to do is to create like hierarchies of content. So if you have pages and you want to make URL structures where like /about/our team or something like that, you use the nested docs plugin. Well, hierarchies are actually probably a pretty good primitive for us to take seriously in Payload Core, turns out. A lot of people use that nested docs plugin. It's kind of a train wreck. I built it back in 2004 or something. But taxonomies, hierarchies are actually a little bit more universally applicable inside of Payload, and they should be first-class citizens. So what we're planning to do is to build in hierarchies into the payload core, and this will eventually replace the nested docs plugin, so you don't need to use that. And then that will afford us to do a lot of UI enhancements on top of like hierarchical tags experience, like a UX pattern. You need to be able to drill down into tags in sort of like a tree view structure, find the tag that you're looking for, and then see all the documents that associate with that tag. So you could imagine like if you're an auto manufacturer, let's say Porsche, got Porsche on the brain, then you go into like model year 2026, and then you go into Cayenne or something, and then you go into the trim, so like the turbo, and then you see all the assets, all the blog posts, all the like the images, the PDFs, the whatever for that Porsche model of that year in that trim. So the reason that we started building this out and taking this seriously is because like managing assets, which I think Paul is going to get to in a second, but Jared's going to preview, and this is actually the 4.0 branch right now. So what you're seeing is a little preview of the UI that we're reworking, but the UI is still a work in progress. So you're going to see some wild stuff in this screen share. Just hang in there with us. We're working on it. It's coming along. But yeah, with that, Jared, do you want to take it away? Maybe start with the sidebar?
Yeah, I can do that. So we have this new sidebar. This is what similar to what you know today, but it doesn't have these tabs up top. These tabs appear if you enable tags or folders or your own custom hierarchy configuration, or if you add a custom sidebar element, which you can do too. And I can kind of showcase what that can look like with a simple example in a minute. So now if you do like, I don't know if I'm sharing my whole screen or if I'm just sharing this window. Let me see. Hold on one sec. Sorry.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah,
Hey,
there we go.
can someone capture? There's a really good idea in the chat. Sorry to sidetrack. Rahul is asking, is there a way to only fetch one locale from Mongo when requesting a document? We need to do this. We should be able to do this with the select API, right? If that's not a thing right now, we need to make that a thing. That's a good call. Sorry, Jared.
Yeah. So you can see here, I have some like seeded data just for example case. So this is kind of like how folders look, and you can like kind of drill in to see these are all fake. But you can kind of get the idea of like what this could look like or does look like right now. It's a way to like organize your data better. This is folders, so everything has one parent. So like all of these images have one parent. They live on lifestyle photos. But then if you do tags true, which looks like,
Can you hit Command Plus a couple times?
yeah, let me delete that, get rid of that. So how these work, we try to make it as simple as possible, similar to folders, which are a little different in V4. So in V3, you would say folders true on the root config. Now you have to add your own folder collection, and I can show you like folders versus, they're like folders and tags are very similar. So you say folders true or tags true here. And that basically does everything for you out of the box. You don't really have to do anything. Under the hood, they use a property called hierarchy, which you could create a custom hierarchy config and do whatever you want. But for most people, I think tags and folders is probably going to be enough. So if you do that, you'll get this and this. If you have two collections, one for tags, one for folders. And then here you can see I've created a couple like fake pseudo like season or whatever. And then you want to look at like, okay, which ones are in, what are my winter articles and campaigns, like things that are grouped together that make sense to go together. And then you can search for them. So I could be like, okay, where's winter? Couldn't find it. Didn't want to, drill down in the folder tree. So I just search for it. I could find it. And then if I go into a document, you can kind of see how they're, now again, the UI is a little bit to be determined, not complete, but it's close to what it will look like. So you can see there's a tags field over here. These are the current tags. So if I looked for like nutrition, I'll be able to find, I think the one I was on here again. So they can have like multiple tags, just like everyone knows in any other CMS or platform. And then we have this also to be determined modal that kind of appears and allows you to like flip through and see, okay, which ones are selected, which ones do I have, and you can like assign more, select, and then you have more here. Similar drawer for folders. So if you want to move it, you can do it like this. You can add new folders here. Yeah, I mean, I always like simplify what you can do with these things, and I try not to, but at the end of the day, I mean, that's kind of what you can expect. And then you can have like different, only show me things that are in this folder. Like this folder doesn't have any. So if I go to winter, I could filter out like campaigns or whatever, or I could search just like you normally can in any list view collection. You can create specific types of documents within a folder, and they'll use that new drawer, which is a little wonky. We need to get sidebar tabs underneath, and yeah, looks a little crazy. But you can kind of get a feel for like some of the new UI here and what it will look like. Tables are not done. But yeah, this is just like a way to organize your content and make it easier for people instead of going to here and having no idea, like, having to know the name of the document you're looking for is sometimes difficult, or maybe you forget, or maybe you have hundreds of documents and you don't know. So it's just like an easier way to organize your data across your team. And then you can kind of like drill down. I know James told me not to touch on this, but I do know in V3 there was a lot of complaint against like root folders, not being able to tag or put documents that are not already in a folder or not already tagged in, or assign them a tag. Now you can do that, which is kind of nice. I'm going to show this example, but I can show you the root also. So this is what the root looks like. So these are articles, media, and campaigns that are not in a folder. And so you can see them all and you can paginate through them, or like the load more paginate. So this example here has the load more, which is nice because I think a lot of people were, kind of feeling like it was falling short, not being able to see which documents were not already tagged or in a folder. So that's nice. It gives you a lot of new flexibility. You can like add your own sidebar tabs. So I can show you a quick example. Go back here. Now this is not feature complete. This is like a very simple example if it loads. So you can imagine like adding your own like tab here, and then these don't do anything because I made this an hour ago and I was doing other things, but you can do whatever you want in the sidebar, and you just like register a component just like you would any other custom component like this. And then in those files, you do the icon and the content in the tab. So the favorites tab file is this stuff in here. And so you can put whatever you want in here, which is kind of cool. It was built like at the same time that I did hierarchy. So yeah, it's like a new entry point for users. You could not have folders or tags. You could just have your own custom tabs up here. And I think that'll be pretty neat. I could see a lot of plugins probably using this, injecting their own custom components for their own use cases. Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know. There's a lot here, but I don't really want to get into the weeds of things. Too far into the weeds.
Yeah,
does that make sense?
I think you nailed it. I think in general, like the big takeaway for everyone is that hierarchies is a new primitive. You can turn it on, you can use it for anything that you want, but we're going to give you first class support for tags and folders. Folders will be built on this same idea. So like hierarchies, you can use it for pages, you can use it for whatever you want. And it's just kind of like a new native feature to Payload that will come with a lot of new UI. I like the tags field that Jared has built. It's just a custom field that gives you a better UI kind of overlay for actually adding tags to a document. Like, look at this. This is great. I really like what we've done here. You can apply multiple tags very easily from a modal rather than from like a relationship dropdown like we would normally do. But there's just a lot coming here. It's this is going to ship with 4.0, and it should be quite good. And yes, Meister proper. Man, what a name. This will replace the nested docs plugin, and you should be able to validate with slugs on that nested level for sure.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Jared, anything else that we should cover here? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. It's really all I had. I'd love for people to play with it though. So if anyone wants to like pull down the main branch, you can just do like pnpm dev any test suite, or we have like a v4 test suite if you want to see the current state of almost all the fields. I think that'll be pretty interesting for people to look at. There's a lot of it is pretty far along, which is exciting.
Hey, Jared, can you link the RFC for this original work?
Yeah, it's pretty outdated, but I can.
Yeah, the RFC is the best place to leave feedback. You can try this feature, and then it would be awesome if you could leave us feedback. Right now, for release of the beta 4.0, we're looking to do that within like a quarter's time frame. So it's going to come out quick. Now, if you remember back to 3.0, we released beta 3.0 in April and then released stable in November, and there was a huge gap there. We don't want that gap to be that long this time. So the idea would be that the beta comes with a little bit more stability than what 3.0 did, and then we have a shorter time frame between beta and production, or what is it, like official release? How would I say that? I should know these things. But yeah, within the quarter, within the next 3-month period. Stable. Yeah, Dan, thank you. Release. Yeah. Oh, beta fish tank. All right. Yeah, Zephyr, we know you will. Please break it. Please. All right. Next up, let's go to Paul. And I'm going to give some context while Paul shares his screen. But I kind of mentioned this quickly when Jared pulled up hierarchies. But the original reason that we started building this was because a lot of digital asset management tools allow you, their UX pattern is tree view. That's their pattern. If you have like an asset manager, like with all your photos of shoes or whatever you're doing, you drill down into the shoes that you want to see with tags and tree view and hierarchies and things like that. So the hierarchies feature as an entire, like as a whole, is meant to bring Payload more close to being a full digital asset management tool. A lot of people are doing this with Payload today. So also as part of 4.0, Paul, let me just pass it over to you and you can, whoa, what am I seeing here? This is what Discord? Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's what Discord looks like, unfortunately. Yeah, so there's growing needs for digital assets management in Payload. I think we have a pretty strong offering right now, but there's a lot more in the UX and UI space that we can do. So there's an RFC here, and I would recommend everyone kind of add in your ideas, your requirements, and make sure you upvote it. And that's kind of how we prioritize a lot of the work that we do from GitHub. But so this is kind of what the UI that Thailand has already shown. So we're kind of improving the view for uploaded files. But then part of that is we're going to add more previews for the type of file that you have. So you'll be able to sort of see the PDF directly, the video, probably MP3s. We didn't really touch on that in this, but that'll be covered as well. There's a list of changes. Some of them are like DX related, so for developers, but the sort of important big features that are coming, we're going to support localized files. So you can upload one file in English and another in French, for example. That will be useful for marketing and legal documents. Support file versioning. So if you upload a new image in the same document instance, you'll not lose the previous image anymore. We're going to make sure that we keep track of it. Some documentation as well. We get a lot of questions about all the features that we have, but they're just kind of spread across the entire Payload website. There's no one place that you can go to and see these are all the features that you can enable. These are the plugins that you can leverage. And then some extra ideas we have. These have not been spec'd out in any way from like a technical point of view, but we're just kind of looking to see what additional value add we can add into the OSS version. So support for on-demand resizing, so you can just request an image at the right crop that you want or the right settings dynamically, and you'll just get that response. Dynamic link sharing with expiration dates. Quite often you need to share an image or a document for a limited time with somebody, but your current access control out of the box doesn't support that. And then usage references, so you can track where documents are used, where images are used, and yeah, things like that. And I know there were some messages in chat with other suggestions. So anything you have, just kind of drop it in here, and we're going to tackle it as part of this UI 4.0 and after. Any questions?
There's been some good ideas in the chat already. I've been trying to take screenshots, but
Yeah.
if you want to contribute to the future of how you manage assets, or if you've had any problems with Payload as you upload large videos or anything like that, and you want to see something prioritized from our team, please get into that RFC and comment on it, because we're planning on a huge initiative to add much more robust asset management support inside of Payload. We've already got a lot of it, but I think 4.0 should come with a lot of goodies for you in this direction. All right, where are we going next? LLMs. All right. And I think we're going to do MCP first. What did I say? Alessio, Elliot, can you help me use my brain?
Other way around.
Other way around.
Okay. First.
Perfect.
There was a question about S3. I don't know if you want to touch on that, Paul. I know you.
So when people say better anything with something, we need more specific details for like your workflows and the UX gaps that you're encountering. I assume that you kind of mean like being able to browse your bucket and sort of pull in images into Payload. That's something we can explore. There's other sort of ideas as well as creating maybe some scripts out of the box to kind of sync in data or migration scripts from existing buckets. I would have those conversations in that GitHub discussion.
Yes, that would be fantastic. And we're taking screenshots of everything that you're also putting in the chat right now. So keep that going as well. Icons for collections. Can somebody get a screenshot? Yep, perfect.
I have also thought, yes, this would be a great addition. Very much so.
Yes. Oh, we are recording the chat. All right. I don't know how any of this works. Good thing Nate's here. All right. Yeah, so next up, Elliot, would you like to talk about skills? Actually, let me give a little bit of a precursor to this quickly. So early on in the call, I mentioned that like Payload is very, very good with LLMs, and like our config, everything being declarative and TypeScript, really helps LLMs implement things in the right way. But there is inevitably some area for us to improve and make sure that models implement Payload capabilities in the best possible way as many times as possible with the highest degree of consistency that we can accomplish. So I don't know if everybody knows about this yet. We do have a repo for Payload Skills, and this is different from the skills that are in our mono repo. We have a mono repo set of skills that allows you to contribute to the Payload core code base more effectively. Those are different skills than the ones that we're talking about here. These skills that Elliot is showing, you can install these now, and you can augment your agentic workflow with Payload specific tips and instructions for the models and everything like that. But this is a moving target, and we want this to be as good as possible. Sounds like they're already fairly solid from the chat, but like I use these and I found a gap with our jobs queue, for example, like right away. Like the model didn't know that you could schedule a task definition. And so that's an example of something that we need to improve our skills so that the model knows about these capabilities of Payload. And with that, like Elliot, do you want to take it from there?
Yeah, so if you haven't seen our skills, check out the repo and how to install it. I have published an RFC, and really, I mean, James just covered it mostly, but just gives an overview and what we need from you. So any failure scenarios that you see when you're using the skill, so things like maybe a missing required config property, it invented an API or anything like that, we want to hear about it so we can improve upon it. So comment on this RFC, I'll drop it in the chat. So what are we going to do with this once we get all of this data from you all? We have an existing eval suite, so we have a good benchmark on, you know, what an LLM without the skill does. Once you load the skill, what does it do, and so on. So we'll be running them through here and using this for optimizing. So you can see here we have like a dashboard, and we can see what the LLM actually did when we prompted it in a certain way, as well as all of the traces. So we have some great visibility into how these agents are behaving once the skill's loaded. That's about it.
Yeah, so please blow this RFC up with as many comments as you possibly can about where agents fail with payload. That is going to make everyone happy. And yeah, we do this right now. We have a Slack channel for this, and we just constantly berate our skills repo with its failures. Generally, it's pretty good, but we want this to be the best in class in the universe. So can't do that without you. All right, what are we doing next? Let me find my little agenda here somewhere. Oh, Alessio.
Now it's
Oh,
MCP time.
good morning.
Good morning. So,
All right. Do you want me to give some context before we jump in?
sure, go ahead.
All right. So speaking of LLMs and speaking of agents, another part of Payload that we have right now that we are putting a lot of emphasis in is our MCP server. And this works pretty well right now, but we are going to make it work extremely well. Best in class from the universe. And with that, we have some ideas in mind for how we can improve it. So Alessio is going to walk us through that. But we also want your feedback on how you've used the MCP today. If you find shortcomings, or if you found that it didn't work for your crazy collection or something like that, let us know. And that feedback is going to make our MCP server better. And with that, Alessio, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, so it's all very much work in progress. So I don't have anything to share this yet. So I'm just going to talk through everything that's planned. So right now, if you install the MCP plugin, there's a lot of work you have to do up front to install it, right? You have to first manually enable every single built-in tool in the plugin config. You have to go to the admin panel, create an API key doc, check all the checkboxes, put it in your mcp.json, and then you probably want to do all this in the C script. So it works for the entirety of your team. In 4.0, the goal is that you install the MCP plugin by adding it to your plugins array, configure your MCP JSON. That's it. That's all you'll need to do to install the plugin. It should work out of the box. So we're making 2 changes to achieve that. First of all, it will be opt out by default, right? So every single collection tool, every single global tool will be enabled by default. Yeah, I'm not using that browser anymore. I can't use it anymore, actually. Figma disallowed the use of Vivaldi. Yeah, anyways, opt out instead of opt in. So no configuration required. And you won't need an API key during development anymore. That's for production only. So you can, so the goal is on a fresh 4.0 template, we're going to ship MCP by default. And you're literally just going to run npx payload create, whatever, and it will work out of the box. Agents can create documents and all that. Another thing we're improving is we're optimizing complex schema handling. So if you have a really complex document with lots of blocks, lexical custom nodes, and relationships, after these changes, LLMs should be able to understand them better and update them more confidently. Next up, project-specific instructions. So say you have a custom page and your editors want to give LLMs context as to how to use certain blocks or when to use them. That will be possible via the MCP as well, via the admin panel or the config. And then we're cleaning up the plugin, specifically the dependencies, because right now it's huge. For example, using the MCP SDK version 1, which is a nasty bloated package. It's really bad. It literally installs Express into your dependencies. So we're currently working on switching to the version 2 alpha of that, which makes it a lot smaller, getting rid of SOD. That will definitely help ship it in production, especially in where bundle size is important, like in Cloudflare or Vercel. So just to summarize, what's coming for MCP in 4.0 is better defaults, better out-of-the-box, easy installation, better API key, UX, and improved schema handling, and smaller dependencies. Yeah.
and we need your help. If it's bad, tell us and we'll fix it.
Yes.
But I have the most faith in Alessio. So, AKA Alex Gravel. There's some lore there. I wonder if we can get the image, the photo in the chat for everyone. Alex Gravel. Do we have that on deck? Oh yeah, there it is. Oh, there's an emoji. Perfect. So good. We're trying to get Alessio to come to config in a couple months. Maybe I can use this public forum as a way to persuade him.
James, if you come to Vancouver, if you buy the plane tickets to Vancouver and visit me, I'll come to config.
All right, deal. I will do that in a second. And Thailand's coming. All right, deal. Funa Bab, Payload 4.0, I don't think will work on Cloudflare free plan because the free plan doesn't give you enough like artifact size, like capability. I think it's like, what's the limit there? Is it 8 megabytes? Paul, you might know that.
It's like 4.5 megabytes.
4.5. All right, that's rough. That free plan is rough. But I would love if Payload could work on the Cloudflare free plan, but it's out of our control, unfortunately. We'll continue to tug on that, but we will not be able to get Payload smaller than 4.5 megabytes. We just do too much stuff. It's just impossible. So yeah, Vercel will always be seamless. Yep. All right. Last topic, TanStack. And I'm going to give some initial context here as well, and then we'll have Sasha join and share his screen. By the way, welcome, Sasha. This is your first time on a community call.
That's kind of strange. I've been working here for a couple of years, but that's the first time ever I'm on the stage.
Oh, we all love Sasha deeply. Sasha is very, very important. He is a cherished team member. And we get to go to San Francisco with Sasha in a month and a half or so, which is the best thing I've ever heard of in my entire life. So with TanStack,
US visa first, though.
Oh wait, yeah, different topic. Yeah, we'll get back to that. We'll take care of it. But so here's my thoughts. Payload and Next.js was a huge thing of 3.0, and I think it was a very good move for us. And many of you know that classically I have been a Next.js fanboy since birth. I built my own server-side rendered React framework back in like 2016, and it was shit. And then Next.js was better, so I just went on Next.js. But when Payload and Next.js conjoined, this was never the game plan was never only to support Next.js. We like it, and we still will support Next.js. But many of you are asking about TanStack support because you prefer TanStack. Maybe TanStack has specific ways that it outshines Next.js. Maybe it's better for deploying on specific architectures, whatever it is. But Zephyri in the chat. That's why packages slash next is a package. Yeah, exactly. Yes, we built this way. All of our Next.js dependencies go inside of the next package. We have really nice abstractions in place in Payload. As you all know, database adapters, file storage adapters, all kinds of rich text adapters, everything's an adapter in our world. Well, Sasha has applied his 400 IQ to building out an adapter pattern for Payload's framework support. And this encompasses the admin panel and the React server components and how we mount our API endpoints so that it's not super crazy to get Payload to support more than just one framework.
Yeah, like Remix, for example.
Right, like Remix. And Astro, I don't know if we could do Astro. Maybe we could, but that's something that this adapter pattern should be able to facilitate. Now, that said, we do require specific capabilities of a framework. Like, for example, we are not a statically rendered application. We are a dynamic application. We have to spin up API endpoints and all that stuff. So whichever frameworks we support, we need to make sure that we have the baseline functionality that we need. Turns out TanStack does, and we've been keeping a very close eye on their React Server component support. And with that, Sasha has built out an entire adapter pattern for Payload. This will come in 4.0, and there's a demo for you to try right now, although this is very work in progress, and we got some CSS issues. But Sasha, do you want to share your screen, and we can take a look at a demo?
Sure. Do you see it?
Yeah, we got it.
Okay, I can start the dev server. Let's try it out.
All right, Veet is bundling this app, and in the background, TanStack start is being used, and there's a standalone repo. It's our website template. Our website template is a good pressure test to make sure that everything works inside of Payload, but you can see this is TanStack right
That's
now.
basically the copy of the website template, but just with TanStack. So it doesn't use Next.js here, but instead it uses TanStack start. Yeah, I can visit the admin dashboard itself. Let's see.
And now the admin dashboard, for some reason, is leaking the Tailwind styles from the front end. So we have to figure that out. That's why the styles are all wild.
There's also an issue with the team, like as you can see, like when you load, so
you get the flashbang.
Flashbang basically.
Yeah, when you try this, there will be issues still, but this is a pretty big priority for us, and we are going to continue to invest in this and get it across the finish line. So, Sasha, do you want to show the code behind?
Yeah. So the code wise, like the payload config is the same basically. Like you don't have to change anything here.
Payload config exactly the same.
Yeah, it's exactly the same. Like the main difference is your app folder basically. So before with Next.js you have Next.js structure, right? But with TanStack, you basically you have to import some stuff from Payload.
Yeah, Pat is doing his best to trigger me in the chat right now. Thanks a lot.
Same for front here. So.
Yeah, all TanStack, and then you can add your own endpoints and your own loaders and your own front end, exactly like you can do with Payload and Next.js. Just one.
Your front end and Payload are running on the same server, on the same TanStack server here, just like with Next.js we have.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So this is coming along. This will also accompany 4.0. Please forgive the CSS tragedies in the admin panel right now. We're going to be working on fixing that. But really, that adapter pattern that we've built has kind of like separated out. If you know the deep internals of Payload, you know that we use React Server components, and then we do a bunch of data fetching all on the server. And then we render the React admin UI through React Server component data fetching. And this adapter pattern has abstracted out all that fetching stuff that we do and put them into like more of a loader type pattern, so that Next.js will use these same loaders that TanStack uses, and then whatever the framework supports, we'll be able to like render the admin UI and go from there. But this is very exciting. Lots of work to go yet, but we are on the right path, and at this point, we think it's going to work, and we're committed to shipping this by 4.0 as well. So you'll be able to pick which framework you want to use.
Yeah, also on the pattern. So with Next.js, you install Payload CMS next, but here you install TanStack start basically. So here it is.
Right.
Yeah, and it's implemented here. Let's see. Oh, actually. Never mind.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Okay.
I think that's it for today, but we will be making sure that you all stay up to speed with 4.0 as it progresses. Like I said, we're going to be releasing this in a beta of 4.0 within the next 3 months or so, ideally as soon as possible, but we have some work to go yet. You can see the UI redesign in the mono repo right now if you load up the main branch, and Sasha will send out that demo of TanStack so you can see.
I actually sent it already in chat.
Oh, nice.
I can repeat that.
Beautiful. Okay. And that's it. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and keep an eye out for more from us over the next couple months. See you later.